Hey, good afternoon to you. 407 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, Sebastian Gorka joins us at 4:30, the Senior Director for Counterterrorism on the National Security Council at the White House. We'll talk to him about the terrorist who the U.S. government just picked up and flew into Dulles last night. Dr. Gorka on hand to receive him. And then Emily Jashinsky will be with us at 5 o'clock. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Democrats are crazy. They demonstrated that once again last night at the joint session of Congress. Here's one. Congresswoman Lateefah Simon of California was on MSNBC, and she's mad that Al Green was thrown out and how Republicans reacted to his lunacy.
Seems like a blatant disrespect for the House, and it wasn't coming from Representative Green. It was coming from the men behind him on the right side who were telling him and yelling, "Sit down." I mean, it felt like I was watching something in a history class of racists yelling at an elderly black man challenging the president of the United States not to cut medical care for the sick.
Oh, isn't it great to live in an era where that kind of moronic moral blackmail has no effect on you whatsoever? And instead you become the subject of mockery instantly, so well deserved. What a goofball. What a goofball. Talk about the stolen valor of the civil rights era. And like the idea, this is exactly like a black and white photo of somebody being yelled at a sit-in or something. It's so crazy. It is so thoroughly crazy and so devoid of any semblance of reality. Al Green, who was making a scene in order to benefit himself at the expense of the American people, was rightly asked to leave the chamber yesterday. And old Lateefah Simon can't conjure up any level of moral blackmail that's going to make me think otherwise. It's ridiculous. Pretty amazing. The Democrats... They really missed their chance here to just shut up and just clap. Just clap for the kid. Just clap for the kid who's got cancer. Will you please? How hard is this? His name's DJ Daniel. DJ Daniel. In fact, the White House put out a nice video of DJ yesterday, introducing you to him if you didn't know him. I didn't know there was a viral video of DJ, who is he's a young man. What is he? I'm sorry, is he 12 or 13 years old? Do you know off the top of your head? He's in that range. And there's a viral video that had gone around some time ago. He has brain cancer, and you'll hear in this audio that he explains his story. And he's had a lot of surgeries through the years. Doctors did not give him long to live, and he has outlived their expectations by a very long time. And in the viral video that I saw, Corey was showing me today, it's him dressed as a police officer. He's a kid dressed in a police costume. Got a lot of these police departments across the country who have recognized the fight that he's in. They've made him an honorary police officer over and over. It's kind of one of the features of his story that all these police departments have embraced him. So he's dressed up like he's in a cop costume, and he's being treated like utter garbage by a number of these like adult black women who they're twerking and dancing in front of him and mocking him and saying, "What are you going to do? You're going to arrest me? You're going to arrest me?" And the poor kid doesn't know what to do. He's just standing there in the video, glancing around to his side, uncomfortable, clearly uncomfortable. He's a child. And he has adults who are menacing him, hectoring him, teasing him, which is disgraceful. And somehow he got on the radar of the White House, thank God. And here's the video they put together with DJ Daniel.
But you want to know the craziest part? Because my mom bathes me and my brothers all together. And out of nowhere, I locked up. And then my dad was calling my name, and I started going to the slow thing. And he said, "Stop playing with me." And I started to act, I ain't gonna lie, I started to act slow. And then as soon as he said that, we was speeding all the way, running lights, going to the hospital. And then next thing you know, I was seizing on the table. They said, "No, we gonna have to go in his brain tonight." Ever since then, I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They had 5 months to live. I'm gonna keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's gonna call you home. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. And I know he's pretty proud of me, and I'm pretty proud of him too. And I'd like to thank President Trump, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today.
I had 13 brain surgeries, he said. That's how many times my personality has changed. That's recognizable. If you know anybody who's ever had one of these brain surgeries, these highly invasive procedures on such a sensitive organ, that does happen. People's personalities change forever in a lot of cases. 13 brain surgeries, that's how many times my personality has changed. I'm going to keep on going until my gas tank runs out, he said. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's going to call you home. Impressive kid. President Trump recognizing DJ Daniel last night, Corey confirming for me, he's 13 years old, and talking about that he always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
DJ standing up next to his dad, enthusiastic, wearing a police costume last night. Here's President Trump telling more about his story and then delivering a surprise to DJ.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
And all of a sudden, Sean Curran pops out up in the upper deck, the gallery, and right behind DJ, and it hands him his honorary badge, his credentials. Now he's an honorary member of the Secret Service. DJ's expression was priceless. You could tell he was absolutely stunned. He's reacting like as if the president just handed him a check for $1 million. He is stunned up in the gallery. And then the sweetest thing ever, he grabs Sean Curran and he embraces him and he hugs him really tightly. Now, you may remember Sean Curran. He's the man who was in the photo in Butler, Pennsylvania, wearing the sunglasses, standing over President Trump while President Trump had his fist in the air saying, "Fight, fight, fight." He's the lead agent from President Trump's security detail who responded to President Trump being shot on that stage instantly. Trump has since made him the director of the United States Secret Service. And watching all of that unfold last night, I was once again, as I so often am at many of these joint sessions that President Trump has so expertly put together, just overcome. I was overcome. I was turning to my wife. I was like, "Do you know who that is? That's the guy who was with Trump. That's the guy who jumped on him on stage to save his life. That's Sean Curran." And there he is delivering the honorary Secret Service distinction to DJ Daniel. It was really nice. It was so nice, actually. And it was competing for the moment of the night. That's how good the night was. Of course, MSNBC couldn't leave it. They couldn't let something good happen. Nicole Wallace, who at one point in her career worked for a Republican president, is an awful person, unfortunately. I don't know why, but she's awful routinely on television. And she had this to say about DJ last night.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ. And I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he...
But you could just stop there. You could stop right there. I hope he has a very long life. He becomes a police officer. He gets everything he ever hoped for. and that he can conquer this thing. But
law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
you are a disgrace. You are an utter disgrace. Absolutely disgusting. I hope he doesn't kill himself, said the MSNBC host in her post-speech analysis. I hope that boy doesn't kill himself. Nicole Wallace, you are contemptible. That is awful to say something like that. Truly awful. Caroline Leavitt noticed it, too, at the White House. She just did the White House press conference within the last hour, and she had this to say about Nicole Wallace.
Last night, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace disgustingly looped in a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer into an attack on the president over January 6th. And CNN's first chyron out of the speech called it divisive. President Trump wasn't divisive. The Democrats were. And CNN was proven wrong by their own viewers, 69% of whom, in a post-speech poll, said they had a positive reaction to the president's speech. It's sad and frankly pathetic that Democrats and liberals in the legacy media continue to allow their hatred for the president to override their love for our country.
They continue to allow their hatred for the president to override our love for our country. Rachel Maddow also got in on the action last night and accused President Trump of being disgusting for honoring DJ Daniel.
For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of...
Did Trump say anything about that? Did Trump say that I saved him? Did Trump say that I treated him, that I was the surgeon? Did Trump say anything like that, Rachel Maddow? No, he didn't. He recognized the adversity that this young man has faced and has overcome and allowed him to be an inspiration to the rest of us. And you decide that you don't like the fact that that reflects well on President Trump's decency. So therefore, there has to be a way to use a child with cancer to hurt Trump.
The president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
This is just utterly disgraceful and, as expected from MSNBC, as they just can't handle and can't acknowledge a genuinely good and decent address from the President of the United States, because we haven't had any of those in the last 4 years. Line 7 is where we find Kent in Oklahoma. Kent, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hello, Vince. First of all, congratulations. You just freed out another 3 hours a day for me.
Thanks very much.
I listened to Dan and then you, so now I've got 3 hours free.
I understand.
I just wanted to mention that young man last night displayed more class, dignity, and maturity than every Democrat in that building.
He really did. He really did. He was well put together, and he was a lovely young man last night. In contrast to those Democrats who were just awful to him.
Now, once again, they proved that they are not there for the benefit of America. They're there for their own party, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, which
and
has
they do not support this country. Period.
Well, that's the message they sent the rest of us, Kent. You're right about that. Thank you, Kent. I appreciate the call today. We've got a lot of calls coming from across the country, including from Michael in San Antonio, Texas, on line 2. Michael, good afternoon to you, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Yeah, Vince, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great, Michael.
Oh, okay. Yeah, San Antonio. This is my third time calling in, but I know you're hearing it from a lot of people. I just wanted to congratulate you, and you're taking Rush Limbaugh's spot, and you're taking Dan Bonagito's spot. But I really wanted to tell you that out of anybody that I hear interview anyone, you are the best person that I've ever heard interview, no matter what subject it's on, and no matter who it was. You are so prepared. And I just wanted to let you know that anyone that listens in this time slot, they're not going to be disappointed. They're going to be big fans. And I just wanted to let you know, and that's it.
Michael, thank you. I appreciate that. As far as guest interviews go, and we've got a good one coming up here with Sebastian Gorka. I think he's going to give us a lot of really good perspective on this terrorist that the Trump administration just brought into Dulles last night. Dr. Gorka on hand to receive him. here's the thing that'll change. The likeliness of everyone saying yes has just gone up pretty substantially, Michael, which is a nice thing. And the good thing about WMAL in Washington is we have first of all, a fantastic audience that spans just everybody in the D.C. listening area who has any wits about them. And that means a lot of the people who you hear on this program and across all of our programming, to include O'Connor and company in the morning, are people who they themselves listen or their friends listen. So they're inclined to say yes because they like to be a part of it. And this is just influential programming. So we book at an unusual rate, kind of like a national show, which is you hear guests of national caliber on our programming. The upside for me now, Michael, and for you is that in 12 to 3, I think the yeses are going to be more prolific, and that's a big deal to me because I want to talk to all these guys and I want to get them to answer questions on your behalf, Michael. So thank you for that.
No problem, Vince. It's a very good spot for you, and you deserve it. You really do.
Thanks, Michael.
You really do.
Very nice. Everyone's being so nice. Right. I appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. Let me see here. Connor calling in from Huntsville, Alabama right now, line 4. Connor, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Congratulations, man. I love your intellect, your brevity. Great guest, and you always move your show along.
We try. Thank you.
The 3:30 guest sort of stole my thunder on the meeting last night. Those placards were a mistake. They're going to be a MAGA meme fest for a long time, and the material is basically unlimited.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I saw it immediately, Connor. Exactly to the point you're saying. There were all these memes going around last night. Everyone had changed all of the text on these stupid black paddles. And they said some version of "I'm mentally ill, I'm mentally ill, I'm mentally ill," and then one of the lawmakers, Democrats, had a whiteboard and it said, "I forgot my mentally ill sign." So yes, you're right. They didn't think it through because they're mentally ill. Coming up, Sebastian Gorka. He was on hand to receive a terrorist in America today. We'll find out what that was like. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 4:36, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up top of the hour, Emily Jashinsky stops by. We'll talk about more of the president's remarks last night and the awful responses from Democrats. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. It was August 26, 2021. That 13 American service members were killed, many others maimed, during the Biden administration's disastrously orchestrated withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Abbey Gate bombing has continued to live on in the minds of Americans, so distraught to have lost these young service members. And President Trump has stood by all of the victims' families ever since then, very publicly. And last night during his remarks, the president had a big announcement, an update on that story in the effort to bring the terrorists to justice. Here's the president.
Tonight I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
That terrorist arriving overnight at Dulles International Airport. Joining us now, a man who was on scene to receive the terrorists, Sebastian Gorka, Deputy Assistant to the President, Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Sir, good to have you back with us.
Wonderful to be back with you, Vince, and congratulations. We get Dan inside the FBI headquarters, and you get the prime slot. Congratulations, Dan. Congratulations, Vince. Well deserved.
Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. That means a lot coming from you, Dr. Gorka. So, what can you tell us? What was that like receiving this terrorist overnight last night?
Utterly, completely surreal, because I was in a secure location watching the president make the statement you just played, and then I got in a vehicle and drove to Dulles Airport, and I waited there with about 100 federal agents, analysts, support staff, local law enforcement, and we waited for the DOJ plane to land. And it was quite something to be there 3 a.m. in the morning on the apron, on the tarmac, with none other than my good friend Kash Patel, with the Attorney General Pam Bondi, with the Director for National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, with the DCI John Ratcliffe, who weren't sitting at home, weren't sleeping, weren't even in their offices. They were with us in the cold, waiting for this monstrous killer who took the lives of 13 of our bravest war fighters. And then we walked up onto the plane. We saw this piece of human filth, and he was processed into the United States. The Department of Justice released the filing documents that anyone can read right now. And then I decided to do one extra thing. It surprised me, but I was so glad. The intelligence community analysts who had tracked this killer, this monster, this murderer, were with us there. And I said, you deserve to see the person you helped catch. So I escorted them one by one up onto the DOJ jet, and I let them see the man that they had helped capture. And the most important thing here is President Trump and the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, the first ever Green Beret to hold that position, made a promise to the families. And last night, that promise was kept, and justice was served for the Abbey Gate 13 martyrs.
So let's begin with who this person is, so people have some understanding of why this is such an important capture. Who is this man known as Mohammad Sharifullah?
So Mohammad Sharifullah, who went by the nom de guerre of Jafar, wasn't just somebody who's a member of ISIS or somebody who was a low-level operative involved in that suicide attack. President Trump hates using this word because, you know, it has a certain positive ring to it, but he was the mastermind behind the Abbey Gate attack. But not only that, he has been behind multiple, we call him the ex-ops chief, so he's behind multiple external operations for ISIS in multiple countries, regions of the world. This is a deadly individual, and just taking him out, just this one person being behind bars for the rest of his life, makes Americans, our partners, our allies safer, because this isn't just a bit part player. This is a senior Islamic State external operations leader, and he will not be planning any terrorist attacks against anyone else for the rest of his life.
Seeing some of the images of what you saw overnight, the photographs that have been captured, shared in part to the New York Post, I'm seeing that the FBI agents who were escorting the terrorist off the plane, and when I say escorting, dragging him off the plane, they've got their faces covered, and even their eyes are blurred in the FBI release. This suggests to me that we're not dealing with a lightweight here, that this is a serious person, and the lives of the people who are involved in capturing him and bringing him here on the line should they be disclosed.
Yeah, there was a moment when the SWAT team, the HRT team, the people in the camouflage gear and the plate carriers from the Bureau got on the plane, and they pulled up their balaclavas, and they made their features imperceptible because, these are images that will go down in history. Let me be very frank with you, Vince, you're a friend of mine. I'm not Senate confirmed as the head of counterterrorism, so I walked into the White House at 12:01 on January the 20th. I have a skiff in which I work, a secure compartmented information facility, but I'm old school. And I wrote at the top of a whiteboard in my facility one letter, the letter J, and that was for Jafar. And I said, my team, on behalf of the president, Mike Waltz, we are going to move heaven and earth to get the man behind the Abbey Gate bombing. I did not expect that with President Trump's incredible leadership, we could turn the intelligence community ship of state with Tulsi, with John, with Kash, with Pam, and 42 days later, I would be staring into the eyes of this devil on the plane, on the tarmac at Dallas. And that's what happened at 3 a.m. this morning.
When you walk in at 12:01 on January 20th and you write that J down, that means that we've been aware for a time that this guy exists and he's worth capturing. Why did it take this long for it to occur? Why did it take just over a month into the Trump administration to finally capture this guy?
Well, this is where you realize, why a certain senator from Illinois made that statement that elections matter. They matter so much for all kinds of things and not just the price of eggs. In the first 2 weeks of the administration, I went from, very important parts of the DOD, the intelligence community, and I heard the same refrain again and again and again. We have been surveilling and watching and tracking jihadis for 4 years. And the Biden White House, the Harris White House refused to let us take action. I mean, think about what that does to your morale. You're in a basement watching a screen from 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning, watching jihadis plan to hurt Americans, and you're not allowed to actually take action. Well, 9 days into the administration, we told the president, Mike Waltz walked into the Oval Office with an operational plan to take out a massive ISIS camp in northern Somalia. When the president heard we've been watching them for a year and a half, he looked out from the Resolute desk at Mike Waltz and says, kill them. With his iconic Sharpie pen, he picked the go box on the operational orders. Less than 30 hours later, myself, Mike, and my team were in the Situation Room under the West Wing, and we were watching the footage live as hell was being rained down on that ISIS encampment, an encampment that the Biden administration had been surveilling for more than a year and a half. It's what decisiveness looks like. It's what peace through strength looks like. It's what America first looks like, and that's down to one man, President Trump, who has the mandate of 77 million Americans.
Sebastian Gorka, what happens now to Jafar? Where does he go, and what will his fate be, in your estimation?
Well, God willing, if the jury finds him to be guilty, you can read the indictment document that the Deputy AG Emil Bove released to me at 2 a.m. It's out there on the net. He has already confessed when the FBI fly team went out to Islamabad. He has confessed to Abbey Gate and other attacks. He will be charged with material support to terrorism, potentially other charges as well. And hopefully, God willing, in front of a jury of his peers, he will be found guilty. And the rest is history. And Americans, our allies, our partners will be safer.
I believe, maybe I'm wrong, I think the president said he thanked Pakistan last night in the speech, that
yes.
they were cooperative in helping us capture this guy. Can you give us some sense of what that means?
Yeah, this was such an important moment because in difficult regions of the world, such as the Af-Pak border where Sharifullah was apprehended, you need help, you need partners, you need friends, and our exquisite intelligence capabilities. I'm not going to mention who, but if you're listening, you know who you are because you were on the tarmac with me this morning. They provided a certain amount of specific information to our counterterrorism colleagues in Islamabad, and they went into hyperdrive. They located Sharifullah. They informed us, and last weekend the FBI flew out there, interviewed him, and he confessed. So it was absolutely classical counterterrorism cooperation, the likes of which keeps everyone safe, citizens of this country and citizens of other countries who have been racked by terrorism.
I believe it was a week ago today that I think I saw you at the White House, and it was then I interviewed. It seems like so long ago, but it was, I think, just a week ago.
Yep.
And National Security Council spokesman Brian Hughes sat down with me, and I had asked him at the time whether or not he feels we are safer now than we were 2 months ago as a country, and his answer was a definite yes, that we're in a much safer position than we were 2 months ago, but there's still a lot of threats out there. How do you view it?
Just look at the stats. I think Brian, we love Brian, my colleagues, James Hewitt on the NSC comms team, Caroline, Stephen Chang, everybody else, Taylor. We have neutralized more than 24 jihadis in just the first couple of weeks of the Trump administration. And this is not just about the counterterrorism mission. I mean, Tom Homan, I see Tom Homan everywhere when I'm going in and out of the West Wing. Yeah. Tom Homan, along with, Secretary Noem, along with Pete Hegseth, it is an empirical fact this nation is safer. Simply because, look, we had leadership back in the White House. When the president says, what, you're plotting attacks against Americans, kill that man. Or when Homan and Hegseth go, think of that one iconic image. When in American history has a White House immigration official been photographed on the border with the new Secretary of Defense? Never. What does that tell you? We are serious about protecting America. where Americans here, Americans abroad, sealing the border, just the figures for what is it, the 98% drop in illegal border crossings, that in and of itself has made us all safer, Vince.
Finally, on that issue, given your role in counterterrorism, I'm curious about the cartels and how you assess the threat that they pose, because obviously the Trump administration has declared the cartels in Mexico to be terror organizations. What is your assessment of their ability to inflict chaos in the country?
Well, look, let's just talk about the facts of the matter. I did this for my Newsmax show a year ago. I just said, let's do the math. How many Americans have died in uniform since the end of hostilities in 1945? So since the end of World War II, so if you add up Korea, Vietnam, Gulf I, Gulf II, Afghanistan, Iraq, 103,000 Americans have died in uniform in 75 years. Under the Biden administration, every 12 months, 110,000 Americans were killed by overdoses of fentanyl and other drugs the cartels brought into this nation. So more people killed in a year, thanks to the open border policies of Harris and Biden, than in 75 years of war. So this is why the president took this decision. That's why Stephen Miller, his deputy, Tony Salisbury, are utterly forward-leaning in making sure that these deaths stop and that the cartels are neutralized in a fashion that saves American lives.
Yeah. And do you really think, I saw that in your New York Times report, that the cartels are running scared right now? But I talked to Ken Cuccinelli earlier this week, and he's worried that might be a Mexican deep state operation with the New York Times designed to try and, shake the U.S. pursuit away and say, oh, they're scared, so it's fine now. What do you think is going on with the cartels? Are they running scared of the Trump administration right now?
Let me quote a fellow legal immigrant to the United States, America's favorite African immigrant. I was coming out of the Eisenhower building on the way to the West Wing, and I saw Mr. Musk. I said, Mr. Musk. He recognized me, and he said, so what's the biggest threat to America in terms of counterterrorism, Mr. CT? And I said, open borders for the last 4 years. And he said, that sounds right. And then I said to him, but don't worry, because we've got Tom Homan. And he just looked at me and said, I love that guy.
Me too.
Straight out of Central Casting. When we've got people like Tom, like Secretary No, Pete Hegseth, I mean, our enemies are afraid, and they should be, because President Trump is the commander-in-chief, and he has the A-team protecting America.
Yeah, you're working around some really cool people. Thank you very much, Sebastian Gorka, as always, the Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Nice to talk to you today, sir.
God bless. God bless. Well done,
bless.
Vince.
Thank you, Sebastian. All right, let's see here. A lot of people calling in. I've got Jeff in Herndon. Jeff likes to call in. He's on line 6. Hello, Jeff. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Congratulations, of course. I know you've got a whole family of people in the Northern Virginia area that are just got a certain amount of pride in their heart to see you where you're at,
It's cool. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. It's very nice.
Hey, I was pondering on this issue, and I've always been bright in my eyes. I think it's, of course, I always attribute that to your upbringing as in a strong Marine family and a Marine environment. But anyway, whatever that is, you've always been very bright, got to the point, great interviews. But there was a point when you went from bright to brilliant, and I was trying to understand that. And it's like, when was that? And all of a sudden it occurred to me, it's when you got your new eyes. You got your eyes fixed, and you went to brilliant immediately. I was like, wow.
So you think
that's got to be the connection?
You think those lasers cut deeper than my eyeballs? You think that's what happened? Like they did some tweaks to my brain when they were in there? Dr. Holzman, that's a nice service from Dr. Holzman. They get all the way to my mind. What you're describing, Jeff, it sounds like some sort of comic book origin story, that the lasers are what gave me my powers. Whatever, I'll take it.
Hey, can I say one more thing, though?
Yeah.
Hey, these guys have, committed hara-kiri, but we've got to take it down to we've got to drive it home and make sure it's complete by getting election integrity in there. And the American people are set up,
yes.
They're PO'd.
Yes.
But, we've got to take that next level. Like, you've got to have no absentee ballot, voter ID.
Yep.
Just do what the man says.
Yep.
You've got to run that across the finish line.
That's totally right.
Hey.
Don't squander this moment. It's critical that we make sure that the runway is clear for this country to continue. And getting the election system fixed up, That is an excellent priority. Thank you, Jeff, for everything. Coming up, Emily Jashinsky in a moment.